Hi everybody, I'm Danny Lichtenfeld, Director of the Brattleboro Museum. Thank you so much for being here. What a treat it is, a real honor for us to have Martha Wilson here at the Brattleboro Museum. And not to mention showing this work from Franklin Furnace, Martha's legacy. Thanks to Mark Waskow, who curated the exhibit. So the exhibit is really a gift from Mark to us, and the work for the exhibit is really a gift from Martha and everyone else involved with Franklin Furnace to the world. And we're so grateful for that. And happy to have you all here tonight to hear from Martha, and then we'll chat with Martha and Mark. So I think what's going to happen is Martha's going to give a talk, and then Mark will come up and join, and Martha and Mark will chat, and if you have questions, and we'll do that kind of thing. Thank you to Brattleboro Community Television for being here and recording tonight. What else is there to say? Does anybody have any questions? Or? Okay, well, enjoy, and without further ado, a real legend in our midst, Martha Wilson.
So we're just going to jump right in. Let me start. As a starting point, use Klaus Oldenburg's ray gun poems produced in 1960 on a stencil machine owned by Judson Memorial Church, the 100-year-old institution on Washington Square Park South in New York City. This supremely ephemeral object embodies the hopes and dreams of the 60s and is one of the only remaining products of a collective of artists, dancers, writers, musicians, filmmakers, all of whom were intent upon tearing down those distinctions among media and between the art world and the real one outside on the street. The Reverend Howard Moody cut a clearing for such restless talents as Klaus Oldenburg, Red Vrooms, Jim Dine, Yvonne Rainer, Simone Forti, Alan Capro, Tom Wesselman, Al Hansen, Robert Rauschenberg, Dick Tyler, Dick Higgins, George Brecht, and many other artists whose work both despised and hoped to transform the status quo. Oldenburg was living in an apartment on the Lower East Side that was so small, writing was his only artistic pursuit that would fit. Consequently, the street became his studio, the prostitutes, drunks, artists, landlords, policemen, pigeons, and dogs his models. The ray gun poems are graffiti and overheard snippets of conversation zapped with the ray of annihilation, illumination, which when pimps and governors, artists, and the rich would find their swords had become plowshares. How is this miracle going to come to pass? It would be the artists, the seers, pumping pamphlets out of their basements and giving them away on street corners, who would implement social and spiritual change. But back to the 60s, surely this time social change would work. While the constructivist artists in Russia had used available technology to produce their works in multiple, that technology was limited. Stone lithography, rotogravure, letterpress, silkscreen printing. The desire to litter the landscape with visual literature was genuine, but these methods of reproduction were slow, and materials also at a premium. Oldenburg had a stencil machine at his disposal, the limited resources of a church, stationery closet, and his own energy. When I asked him how many copies were in the edition of the ray gun poems, he replied, "Fatigue was a factor." But here's my point. After the Second World War, the printing technology known as offset lithography became cheap and available enough to make the vision of multiple artworks to be given away or sold more cheaply than in any other form in history a real possibility. Bring on Dieter Roth, or Dieter Roth, or Diderot, or Diderot, or DR, or Karl Dietrich Roth, as he also called himself on occasion. A Swiss artist who has divided his time between Stuttgart, West Germany, and Reykjavik, Iceland. Diderot saw books as the ultimate play form. His Kunderbuch contained colored acetate pages punctuated with Swiss cheese holes and held in a 3-ring binder so that endless visual combinations could entertain children. Adults are just big children, so his Bach 3B and Bach 3D consists of comic book pages and coloring book pages bound right side up and upside down, and also punched full of Swiss cheese holes. The original one-of-a-kind version of his work was produced in 1961, 13 years later with the technological assistance of publisher and printer Hans-Jörg Meyer, and an edition of Bach 3B and Bach 3D was published. What I like so much about this work of art is that it is subversive. On the shelf, it looks like any other book. When you open it up, the book is unreadable, although one can read into it as a commentary on the sources of information and how full of holes it is. Now for a further digression on offset lithography, the technology that produced multiple copies of Diderot's above-mentioned work. During the Second World War, a new problem confronted the military for the first time. How would it be possible to distribute orders for a war being fought all over Europe and the Pacific Basin? The answer was to mount printing presses directly on aircraft carriers to perfect offset lithography, which transferred ink from a metal plate to a rubber blanket and onto a piece of paper at a rate heretofore unknown. After the war, the technology of high-speed offset lithography was available for commercial businesses to use, and with radio transformed the speed and economy with which information could be distributed. Although to this day it may not be, not many artists can afford to do so, in 1965 the Swiss artist Warja Honegger-Lavatar produced a work of 4-color offset lithography with the backing of her gallery. Le Petit Chaperon Rouge is the story of Little Red Riding Hood, told completely in visual terms and bound as an accordion to reinforce the visual sequence. The cast of characters is identified by color, and as the narrative proceeds, the enmity of the wolf's evil engulfs the entire page. Except for the key and the title, Le Petit Chaperon Rouge perfectly reverses our expectation of books, the texts of which usually generate metaphorical images. In this case, the image is the text. Le Petit Chaperon Rouge was created by making film color separations of artists' original drawings in black, magenta, yellow, and cyan blue. Then the page was printed 4 times each pass, laying down an additional color until the offset version of the original drawing resulted. This is expensive, not only because it costs a lot to shoot color separations and pass the same piece of paper through the press 4 times, but also because the colors must register exactly on the page. Back to America for a look at one of the many works produced by California artist Ed Ruscha, the man who made Los Angeles famous. Every building on the Sunset Strip is exactly that. A portrait shot out of both sides of a moving vehicle in 1966. This work is also an accordion-folded visual sequence with like the street can be driven in both directions and seen on either side of a car. Boucher has also produced such great hits as 34 Parking Lots, looking suspiciously like Frank Stella's early black paintings, 9 Swimming Pools, featured in the movie Welcome to LA, Baby Cakes with Weights, Royal Road Test, he throws the typewriter out the window of the car, business cards, crackers, various small fires, and a glass of milk, 26 gasoline stations, and another of my all-time faves, real estate opportunities, pictures of vacant lots in Los Angeles. This work of art, miscatalogued by the Library of Congress under the subject of real estate, may be the one work of art in book form which has escaped the fine art ghetto and entered the real world of commerce. More later on the success or lack thereof of works of art designated for mass audience consumption, suffice it to say that Ed is the most successful artist working in the mass-produced form and keeping his books in print and keeping the prices down. He can afford to do so because he's a highly successful painter as well. The supreme irony of this art form is that it costs the artists thousands of dollars to make copies of a work available cheaply to the public. So offset lithography became cheap enough and went all over the world, and in this case, it became a form known as concrete poetry, for which the word and the image are one and the same. Concrete poetry was practiced in this instance by Julio Plaza in South America, but I can't remember what country. Statements by Lawrence Weiner. 1968 was a very good year for the book as an art medium. In this year, a gallery in Amsterdam about the size of a large walk-in closet began publishing its exhibitions through the Art and Project bulletins, single sheets of paper used as art space by every major conceptual artist in the art world, an innovation in distribution that suddenly freed the art system from the tyranny of the gallery and museum system. And artist Lawrence Weiner produced Statements, the first book as exhibition with the help of publisher Seth Siegelau. Each page of Statements bears one text set in a block of type as if it were an object, and a suggestion for an art action at the same time. For example, one regular sheet of plywood placed across an international boundary allowed to rest, then turned to and turned upon to intrude one portion of the country into the other. But at this point, neither the statement or the action constitutes the focus of art, which exists only in the idea owned by everyone who reads it. Art, as if to reinforce the impossibility of owning art, Lawrence Weiner's Statements sold for $1.95 and was deliberately published in the same size as pocketbooks, which can be carried around by everyone. Also in 1968, SMS Magazine appeared in 6 issues, bound in a box, and mailed to subscribers, including a few libraries around the country that didn't already know whether to return the goods as damaged when they received Yoko Ono's Broken Teacup for John in a baggie. Each issue of the magazine, published by William Copley's letter-edged in black press, consisted of multiple objects, from audio tape by Lamont Young, to a Xerox book by Lee Lozano, a paper hat by Roy Lichtenstein, a rotating disc by Marcel Duchamp, a black pocket containing definitions of water by Joseph Cassuth. SMS Magazine embodies all of the achievement of the book as an art medium by virtue of the vast assembly of artists invited to participate and their novel contributions. The book as art object, the image as text, reading as performance, and the book as the ultimate spiritual container. This is the comic section of the art project, the SMS magazine. Dick Higgins did some very important things for the whole field of artist publications when he founded Something Else Press in the 1960s. He brought back into publication difficult works by Gertrude Stein like Lucy Church, Amy Lee. He published artist writings and performance texts by Allison Knowles, Alan Capro, Jerome Rothenberg, and others through the Great Bear pamphlets, and produced his own and other artists' books. All of Something Else Press publications were manufactured according to industry standards on good quality paper and, most importantly, distributed through regular bookstores along with novels and art monographs. Since distribution has never been the strong suit of artists, except for F.T. Marinetti, who got his manifesto published on the front page of Le Figaro in 1909.
Sorry.
I feel for you. Something Else Press stands alone as an achievement among artist publications' efforts. Dick Higgins, FOEW ampersand OMBWHNW, is a container for the spirit of the 1960s, packaged ironically in a book that looks very much like the Anglican Book of Prayer, except that the 4 columns of type and some images it contains run simultaneously. The title, Freaked Out Electronic Wizards and Other Marvelous Bartenders Who Have No Wings, was scrapped as being hopelessly hippie and typed into the 1960 mold. And yet the point is that there are different paths of knowledge, and Dick Higgins is exploring all of them, from altered states to academic analysis, poetry, to pleasures. The 1970s began, at least as far as the art world is concerned, with the information show at the Museum of Modern Art in 1970. The dematerialization of the art object, as Lucy Lepard's phrase describing the trend, which replaced painting and sculpture with documentation of actions and ideas through photography, videotape, audio tape, performance, and books, was in full swing. The artists who pioneered conceptual art in the 60s and 70s paved the way for women and third world artists to mount their attack on the European-American axis. Additionally, the 70s saw institutions, such as Franklin Furnace, spring up to deal with the new nature of the art world, commodity, and unlike the Women's Building in Los Angeles, the urgent parallel issue of lack of visibility and representation for women. Oh, you're not supposed to be there. That's all right. What the hell is this? It's all right, I'll get to that. I'm going to talk about this later. These are some artist books that I like. This is a book called Lair. It's by Bruce Nauman, and it's photographs of Los Angeles air.
Oh.
This is a book called One, and it's 500 pages, so after you've looked at 1,000 faces, you realize that we are all one. It's by Ken O'Hara, Japanese artist. Mirta Dermisage 1972, Argentina was going through censorship, and her work pictures what she's making of the censorship of the government. And they let it, the censors didn't get it. They let this go through. Copies of this stuff in the mail. Suzanne Lacey's Rape Is. You have to rape the book in order to read it. Rape is when your therapist suggests that an affair with him would be rehabilitative for you. Here we go. This is Eleanor Edgin's 100 Boots postcards, which were mailed to the artist's international audience. She viewed this work as a picaresque novel, The Adventures of the 100 Boots, who, like most Americans, go to work, get thrown out of work, go home, go on a picnic, look for more work. The 100 Boots postcards are also mail art, works of art sent through the mail for an intended audience, and in the opinion of these artists, validated by the stamp of approval of the United States Post Office. At any rate, since art could now consist of postcards, it became easier to show your work to a particular art critic who would certainly respond if he or she just knew about it. I've always liked the fact that this work of art also pays homage to the ways writers like Charles Dickens got paid for monthly installments of their work. This is a flip book, which is a little hard to show. So you have to, to get the image to move. George Griffin. This is George Bachunas. It's oh no.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is George Bachunas? Okay. Who manipulated every single issue to suit his Fluxus philosophy. This is Conrad Gleber's meat book. The female meat and the male meat are in these sandwiches of white paper. Martina Valea, a book that is in the shape of a triangle and you fold it all together or unfold it to read it. A Fable, it's by John Baldessari. It folds out in 4 directions, so the story can go in multiple directions. This is Michael Snow's cover to cover, and the text that you see is the only text you'll see in the whole book. It's a visual story. It ultimately tells the story of taking the film that comprises the book to the lab that's going to develop it and turn it into, pages, prints. Stairs, Reen Jansma, I don't know how to pronounce that, his name. But look at these stairs. It's a lot of work is what this is. Now Then by Ida Applebrug. Ida Applebrug did a whole lot of very ephemeral artist books, and she called each one a performance. Now Then a performance, because you are performing the book as you look through it. Now Then, take off your panties. Barbara Kruger, No Progress in Pleasure. Looks like a regular book till you open it up. And then she turns the whole thing sideways, so you have to open it like a calendar. Helen Brunner primer. It's a lot of work to burn every single freaking page of the book, and it's yet more work to put little extensions on the pages. This is Nancy Garuba, not altogether true, not altogether false, in the shape of a checkbook. False. Lisa Lowenz went to 3 Mile Island after the nuclear accident and made a 1984 3 Mile Island calendar, taking pictures of the reactors from, people's living rooms. Telfer Stokes and Helen Douglas, MIM, it's perhaps about mimesis. We're not sure what it's about. Carol Munder, Fierce Power, is full of signs. I don't know what it means in a narrative sense. Perhaps that's okay. Stephen Courtright, East West. It's a book about how we read books from the back in the East, and we read them from the front in the West, whatever that might mean, front and back. Where am I now? Oh yeah. No, actually, I don't know where I am, but I think this is the grand finale coming up. This is Marion Penner Bancroft's Two Places at Once, Transfigured Wood, Part 4. The slide doesn't show that each page folds out twice, so that the book is actually this wide. And we go on a tour of the environment that we live in, the world, in the course of looking at this book and folding out the 4-page spread. Abuse of power comes as no surprise, says Jenny Holzer. The essays it contains are her inflammatory essays. This one is about, I can't tell what it's about. They're all scary though. Andy Warhol et al., the FBI file on Andy Warhol by Margia Kramer. She got the actual file. This is what it really looks like. And this is Daniel Martini's Obscene Is. It was published during the AIDS crisis. It's a booklet of condoms. The end. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. And for those who don't know, this is Mark Waskow, who's just stepped up to join us. Mark is the president and founder of the Northern New England Museum of Contemporary Art up in northern Vermont, and a treasured collaborator recently here with BMAC.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and sharing.
Mark.
Listening to you is really fascinating because I have a particular relationship with artist books. It's a really important part of our collection, but you had the wonderful happenstance of being on the ground during the primary invasion.
The primary invasion.
As the 60s and 70s were unrolling and being a witness right there in the front lines. And so your familiarity with the material is really wonderful because you can feel it. Because not a lot of people would have just dove right into a topic like that and just started kind of cold but you pulled it off. It's really interesting, and I thank you for doing that. I have a few questions for you. I'm curious about like the beginning of Franklin Furnace. So when you first started Franklin Furnace, why did you do that? What were you thinking about?
Thank you for asking that question.
Sure.
So I made an artist book.
Okay.
It's called Truck Fuck Muck.
Oh, I've seen it.
And it's the same story told 3 times. First time you open the book, there's the cover, you open the book. It's on the right-hand side of the 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And so that's the story of me hitchhiking from deep British Columbia to the airport to get back to New York. Or maybe I was still in Canada at the time. Truck fuck. It's printed on the left-hand side of the page, and it's about how the truck driver's goal was to fuck Martha. You know, if you're going to pick up a hitchhiker, you're giving her a free ride for 1,000 miles. I'd like to get something out of this. Okay, and then muck is upside down because I was touched by my father as a young girl, and that colored my whole being for the rest of my days. So it's the same story told 3 times, Truck Fuck Muck. And I had this artist book, and I wrote to, well, a friend of mine actually stole the mailing list, which was on, don't worry, it wasn't stolen permanently, but it was on, labels. So she stole a set of labels away from PS1, which was forming at exactly the same time, 1976. And I wrote to all the artists on the list and said, I know you have this stuff under your bed and you don't know what to do with it. And wouldn't you like to bring it here and I'll put them in the bookstore for artist books and we can, sell it and you'll make some money. So that worked. I had 200 titles on opening day. Nobody stole anything, which was wonderful. But at the same time that I was trying to do this, Printed Matter was meeting, except there were 12 of them. Lucy Lepard, Sola Witt, I forget who else, Edith Diag, Walter Robinson.
Right.
Anyway, there were 12. They were moving more slowly. I could go downtown and get incorporated, but it would take them a month because they had to meet and discuss what they were doing. So Printed Matter, okay, here's the best part of the story coming up. I thought it'd be great if Printed Matter and Franklin Furnace could cohabit the loft space on Franklin Street, where I had a ground floor loft that had been a ship chandlery with display cases and everything. Willoughby Sharp had net leased the building. Willoughby Sharp, publisher of Avalanche magazine, had net leased the building on behalf of all of us. And he heard that Lucy Lepard and Soloway were coming, and he came downstairs with his attorney and said, "This will never be known as the Printed Matter Building!" And they thought, well, we want to be in bed with a crazy guy anyway, so we're out here. They went to, Hudson Street first, and then Lisbon Street. They moved with the railroad.
Right. So originally your thought was to create essentially a bookstore.
Correct.
To promote the works.
And preserve the stuff.
And to get some revenue in the hands of
But
tourists.
then the books started walking up the wall and across the ceiling and started turning into installation work. And there were audio, artists would come with proposals for crazy stuff that violated the codex form. And we thought, that's fine. Jackie Apple was the curator Jackie Apple, whom I had met, briefly, I was living in Canada. Lucy Lepard came to the art school. I was not in the art school, but I was making art. She looked at what I was doing and said, yes, you are an artist. And there are other women around North America and Europe who are doing this feminist practice. Nobody had told me this word, the word feminist practice. And she put me in a show, the Circa 7500 show, through which I went through the catalog and met other women artists in New York. So when my boyfriend dumped my ass, I thought, fine, I'll go to New York and see if I'm really an artist.
Did you have some success in selling the artist books through Franklin Furnace?
Not really. I spent a lot of time in line at the post office, and so when Printed Matter decided they wanted to distribute, I said, fine, I'll do exhibition and preservation, and you'll do distribution and publication. So we just divided the pie.
Okay. I was trying to figure that out because I know at one time Franklin Furnace had the largest collection of artist books at that point, with like 13,000 odd books.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out how you would amass that if you were selling them all the time. Because you
That's how
weren't,
we
right?
were. It was very early too. It's Printed Matter and Franklin Furnace
Yes.
figured this out in 1976.
Right. So, where were you in terms of your own artistic practice at that time?
I was running an organization and didn't really have time to make art. So I started Disband, an all-girl band of women artists who couldn't play any instruments.
I think I've been to some of those concerts.
We existed from 79 to 82.
Do you have any recordings?
Yes, actually, we have a CD.
All right. Okay. Never vinyl, huh? Me too.
No, we were beyond vinyl at that point.
I see. and so, when did your current, the body of work that you're most well known for, when did that start?
In Halifax, Nova Scotia.
So before?
Yeah, before I moved to New York.
But then you took a hiatus because of this?
Well, yeah, I was running Franklin Furnace and I put it all under my bed.
Okay.
And then one day, Mitchell August saw one work in a show at Guildhall Museum in the Hamptons.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, do you have any other work? I said, yeah, I mean,
A few
he
thousand.
took it out from under the bed, put it on top of the bed, and he said, okay, I want to show this. You know, basically wanted to show everything. So he gave me my big break in 2008. Yeah.
So that's a very delayed.
Yeah.
So for any artist in the audience to think that, you know, your career's over or it's not moving quick enough, this is a really
It just takes 50
interesting.
years, that's all.
This is a very interesting object lesson. It's like 50 odd years, right?
Yeah.
To get from point A to point B. So, yeah. And you've become rather famous for
Yeah, I had to show
becoming
Pompidou.
becoming different people
And becoming different people, yes.
yeah. What is the term you use? Injecting yourself into that?
Oh, I like that. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, and that's pretty interesting. And so now you retired, although I've seen you a lot at Franklin Furnace when I'm there, but you retired as the director.
Yes.
So can you tell us about your relationship to Franklin Furnace now? What do you find yourself doing and what sorts of, do you have projects in mind that you are personally interested in? What are your plans?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Harley took over 5 years ago.
Yeah, right.
He had started working for me in 1986, I think. So he knows all the aspects of running the organization. And I retired, but as I was teaching at Pratt, I realized that the kids today don't know anything about the last time we went through the culture wars, which was in the 1980s after Ronald Reagan was elected and was trying to put the National Endowment for the Arts out of business. And certainly, if the National Endowment for the Arts was funding people like Karen Finley, Holly Hughes, John Fleck, and Tim Miller, who dealt with not only sexuality, which is what Karen Finley was doing, but homosexuality. Oh my God. You know, this was horrifying to many, many people. So I'm writing a book, or I'm preparing a book. I shouldn't say writing, because I'm commissioned essays from other art space directors who also went through the culture wars and got, slapped for showing art that is contemporary. It's contemporary. This is what the artists are doing. For example, John Kalaki wrote about being the performance curator at the Walker Arts Center. He commissioned Ron Athey to do 4 scenes in A Harsh Life, and a member of the press who had not attended the performance claimed that AIDS-tainted blood was dripping on the heads of the audience. Well, in Frank Furness's case, we were showing pornography to 500 children per day. So there were various strategies that came out of the culture wars of the 80s. Some of them failed utterly, and some of them kind of worked. And so the purpose of the book really is to say to the kids today, this has already happened, and here's what we did, and then here's what you can learn from what happened.
And what about Franklin Furnace? Do they have a role in this, or is this book sort of outside of there?
It's the history of Franklin Furnace, but it has a huge section in the middle about the culture wars.
Okay. And
Because we got in trouble 4 times.
it seems like more than that.
It seems like more than that.
And what about Franklin Furnace itself? Do you are you
What do I do?
Are you involved? I mean, I see you in the office there. When I'm there.
I show up.
Yeah. So what is the magnet that keeps drawing you back there?
Well, we're all on Zoom, so I can be there
In
at
spirit.
any time.
Yes.
And I'm on the board of directors. So I, go to, I don't know, how often do we do meetings? 3, every quarter we have a board meeting. And, it's my family, and so I stay in touch with
Good.
everybody.
And what about your practice now? I mean, other than the book, which I'm sure is very consuming, but in terms of the, for lack of a better term, the mainstream practice that you did and then put on hiatus and then came back to again.
Well,
What's
I've
happening with that?
just done a new work of art. Just took me 2 years to do it. It's called Fake Chuck Close. And it's a portrait of me, Martha, at age 75, but the grid is made up of images of little old ladies. And then I used a photographer who's worked with Chuck Close before to do because I couldn't do the technical part of it. But it hasn't been shown yet, but I have a gallery, so I'm going to talk to them.
Nice. So you're still actively making
Still doing stuff.
Good for you. That's fantastic. Is there anything that you'd want this audience to know that you haven't yet divulged?
I could possibly do that. But I haven't yet divulged. There's a question.
Clorinda McLeod one?
Yes.
I didn't hear her name.
Oh, her
mentioned.
name, who produced artist books?
At Franklin.
Oh,
Furnace.
Franklin Furnace? Yes, we exhibited Clorinda. I don't remember the name of the show. Yes. And you know Clorinda, right?
Very much
Yes,
so.
yes.
Jackson and I were very close.
Ah, really? I think we should go into the questions. We should go into the questions. You can talk about Jackson Maclow and how you were very close. Can we do that? Is that all right?
We can do whatever you want, sure.
Or you should maybe tell us who Jackson Maclow is so that we know who Clorinda Maclow is.
He was one of the premier poets of that time in New York. And his daughter Clorinda is an extraordinary performer.
Yes.
And I don't know whether she has produced artworks to look at or not.
I saw an event she was participating in, and she was participating as a performance person, and, not doing drafting or anything like that. It was
And I was a Judson artist.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Thank you. Judson changed everything. Were you doing dance or visual or what kind of work at Judson?
Oh, boy.
That's a great question. This, by the way, this is Nye Farabis, formerly Vichy Forbes Hendricks.
Oh. Hi.
She was in the thick of it. In the
Yes,
process.
indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So thank you. We'll open up the questions. There's a question back there.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I mean, how does one, there's this whole history, which I've just kind of scratched the surface online, but how does one relate to Franklin Furnace now? I mean,
Well, we still give money to emerging or early career performance artists. We started doing performance art in 1976 because Martine Abalea wanted to read from her dream journal, one of the books, artist books that she published. She showed up in costume. And we were, Jackie Apple and Martha Wilson were both performance artists. We thought, great, we're gonna do performance. So we got money from Jerome Foundation in 1985. We started this program where we gave money to emerging practitioners of what we call performance art, but the term is, I don't like that term very much because it sounds like performing arts. It sounds like playing violins or something. And actually we have a Franklin Furnace Fund winner in the audience tonight. Anyone, would you stand?
Oh.
And you want to say something about your,
Oh my goodness.
what you did with the grant money?
Well, I was thrilled and honored to receive the Performance Art Fund 2 years ago through Pratt Institute. And Catherine.
Come on, stand up.
Catherine, Phil, and I did performance and it was a huge support through Mark Waskow and Franklin Furnace folks that we could do that performance because it was highly political.
Illegal.
Yes.
Fucking illegal.
Yes, illegal. And I think I would just finish by saying, when I found out Franklin Furnace as a truly, deeply supportive to avant-garde artists, young artists, and I think Franklin Furnace should stay forever.
They were naked in a public park.
Just so you know, in Vermont, that's not illegal.
yeah,
It's not illegal.
You are welcome.
It's not illegal to be naked, but it is illegal to get naked. You can't undress in public, and you can't put your clothes back on, but you can be
Oh,
naked.
we didn't do that.
You can be naked all day
Yeah,
long.
we didn't do that.
Yeah.
We appeared that way.
Right, that's great.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. So I'll have to think of something more devious.
We can perform the same performance.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Host us.
Yeah. Skylar, did that answer your question? We kind of got off on a tangent, perhaps.
well, I'm just curious, how would anyone kind of access past work?
Well, thank you for asking that. So one of the things that we realized at the end of the culture wars was that perhaps the next free zone for artistic expression would be the internet. So we went online, which was really bumpy at the time because the performance art that we were seeing online was in a 2-inch square. I don't know if you remember this, and it kind of jerked around. And Irina Danilova, who is Russian, got an American performance artist to collaborate with her on a moon landing. She pretended, because the images that came off the first moonwalk were real jerky as well. So she pretended to be on a lunar voyage with the American astronaut, except she's smoking a cigarette.
They have a very significant digital footprint. And so if you go online and look at Franklin Furnace, there's
That work.
decades and decades of information and work, and that'll lead you to other things as well. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you could describe something that's going on contemporarily that you would call performance art, or, I mean, I'm kind of out of it,
Okay.
and so I don't know what's going on in the world, and I would love to hear what's going on in performance
In the
art.
performance art world.
What's a cutting edge performance going on?
Nemo is not cutting edge enough for you?
I don't,
That's an impossible question. Thank you for asking it. There's no way to predict what is going on in the performance art community and what artists are going to do.
well, let me
next.
take it back, I don't mean cutting it, doesn't have to be cutting.
Oh, it doesn't have to be cutting edge.
No, just
Oh.
something, a performance that you've enjoyed within the last.
Oh, a performance
10
that I
years.
enjoyed in the last 10 years. But performance art, we're not talking about theater or
Yeah.
music or something.
Some of this may be the genesis of a question like that. Correct me if I'm heading in the wrong direction, but some of it may be that some people just aren't familiar with the concept or so familiar with it that when they hear it, what they're really looking to understand is, what the heck are we talking
What the
about?
heck is
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, would you consider Marina Abramovic in the,
Oh, totally. Oh, she's a performance artist. Absolutely.
and she had that very high profile project, certainly
At
within
the
last
Museum
10
of
years.
Modern Art?
Yeah.
What happened? Yeah.
But not everyone is familiar. This would be a good thing for you to just kind of talk about your vision of performance art. Like, if you have to say what, like someone says, okay, what is performance art?
Oh, my God. Well, thank you for mentioning Marina, who sat at a table at the Museum of Modern Art for the entire day, and people lined up to talk with her for as much time as they, the people, wanted. She didn't say, your time is up or anything like that. So it was a piece about time, and then she would make a line on the wall after the day was done. But that leads me to, talk about Tei-Ching Hsieh, the artist who lived in a cage for 1 year. He had a friend come bring him food and take his waste away. He lived outside, was it outside? No, time clock was next. He punched a time clock every hour for 1 year. That was the second piece that he did. Third piece was, Linda was the fourth. Third one was living outside. And Franklin Furnace showed that, the documentation of that piece on Franklin Street. Then he was tied to Linda Montano by the waist by an 8-foot length of rope for 1 year, but they weren't supposed to touch. So if they got in a taxi, Martha would get in the middle to make sure they didn't touch or whatever. For 1 year. Then he did no art. He didn't participate in the art world at all for 1 year. And then he kind of disappeared for 13 years. And he came out, his birthday is December 31st. So he came out on the first day of the new millennium, the year 2000, January 1 of 2000. And Martha was the interlocutor for that performance. And he basically opened up a piece of cardboard that had a message cut out of, like a ransom note cut out of magazines, that basically said, "I've survived for 13 years. Half the audience left in disgust. This guy's a charlatan. What is he saying? I've survived. And the other half of the audience thought, oh my God, it's the Dalai Lama. Survived. Now, he's going to be collected and exhibited at Dia Beacon in the fall. I think it's this fall. All of his work. And I'm going to go. I think the beginning of the question is what the hell is performance art? So there we go. It could be, living outside for a year, and then it could also be collected and exhibited by Dia Art Foundation.
It's not a narrow thing to define. It's very broad. It covers a lot of ground. Any other questions? Any other answers? Thank you.